All right, Rippers. I hope you guys all had a good Mother's Day. And to all you mothers out there, thank you for everything you do. We all know that it takes a good mom and a dad in order to raise good children that will grow up to be good, respectable, hopefully conservative, but yet self sufficient and responsible young adults, right? That's what we all can hope. And it starts with moms, and then next month it goes to dads. Woo, dads. Let's hear it for dads. But let's hear it for moms first, because moms are awesome. As you can see, mom here got spoiled something fierce, right, from the kids and everybody. And we went out to Mother's Day brunch, which I love breakfasts and brunches, especially because I don't have to get up as early. But look at those. And those peonies right there, that's her favorite flower. And those came from my mom's garden. Would you believe it? My mom has got a green thumb like you wouldn't believe. And then check that out. There's some other spillage of flowers. Some of them are from last week sometime, just, because. And that's another thing. You guys out there, if you really, really want to be doing it right, get your special someone flowers or something special, or take her out to dinner when there's nothing special going on, right? Just because flowers, or just because dinners, or just because movie, right? Or just because trip to the lake, or whatever you want to do, right? Walk with the dog, anything like that, just because. Be spontaneous. If you're sitting around thinking I'm bored or I got nothing else better to do, before pushing that Netflix button, get out there and go do something with your special lady or your special mom, right? So that being said, let's get started with today's hunt for ammo, kind of keeping an eye on things. One thing I'm noticing is there is some really interesting different brands and selections coming out, right? There seems to be a good supply of ammo out there. That's good, even though there was a report that that Vista, who is looking at being purchased by an out-of-state or out-of-country buyer from the Czech Republic, which we do not want to happen, right? And there's an American company that's looking at buying them. That's what we want to support. Let's tell them, call up or email Vista and say, do not sell out-of-country. We need you. But that being said, Vista is saying that they're having a problem with powder and they're having a powder shortage. Now, that could mean a lot of things. That could mean that production is just down. They're not able to get the materials they need to make it, but and to make primers too. So that being said, it could mean that the production level is cranked up for military purposes. Just saying. Don't know, don't have proof, but it could be that they're eating that up because of the large military orders that have been going on out there. So could be a lot of things. Could mean now's the time to buy while it's still on the shelves and before the prices go up even more, right? Because if there's a powder shortage, you can bet that the prices are going to go up, right? So that being said, get out there, look for the sales. And interestingly enough, besides the new selections out there I'm seeing, but there's also some sales going on that are pretty decent, like 9mm down to $11-12 a box, right? And 223 down to $10 a box, and even 7.62 by 39 is starting to show up again. And speaking of that, Palmetto State Armory is finally putting it out. And if we really want to do something cool, they're also putting them out many calibers: 308, 7.62 by 39, 223, 9mm. I mean, they're cranking out steel case ammo again. The 7.62 by 39 was like $10 a box. And all the prices look pretty good. Not as good as I think they could do, but pretty good compared to what we've been paying, or if you can even get it. Now, one thing we want to do is email the heck out of PSA, which is Palmetto State Arms, and tell them, hey, we want 545 by 39 for all of us people that have been out there that have bought their AK-74s, right? We deserve the 545 by 39 ammo for a good price, don't you think? I think so. Woo! And if they could stick the super bullet in there, I think it's called the N19 or something like that. Whatever it is, put it in the comment section. I can't remember off the top of my head, having a senior moment. But that being said, we definitely want that bullet in there if we can get it. That's a great bullet. Man, that thing does magical stuff, right? They call it the magic bullet. You can shoot the one guy that's trying to get you. Not that I recommend shooting anybody, just saying. This is for educational purposes. But then it'll zing through them and out their shoulder and get the guy next to him. That's pretty cool. Anyway, that being said, I got my usual box of the Fiocchi 40 cal or 40 grain 22 long rifle at 1250 feet per second. So I got the little faster ones this time, not the 1050 feet per second. I got a box of 22 mags because those were on sale at Sportsman's Warehouse. And honestly, 22 mag is, I think, overlooked a lot. 40 grain bullet moving at 1910 feet per second. Now, that's probably out of a rifle, but still, that's going pretty good for a round that you don't have to reload and you can just, shoot a bunch of and get and carry a bunch. I mean, that's 100 or 50 rounds right there in that tiny little box. And I can stick that in my pocket, go to town. And it's just a little slower than the 7.57 by 28. Now, that being said, this is one of the ones we want to look at. For Fiocchi has come out with 5.7 by 28. Now, this may have been out for a while, but at least locally here for us, this has come out. But what this is that I find interesting is, look at this. It's defensive ammo. So this one here is a 40 grain bullet. What does that say? There's 50 of them in here, so you get 50 rounds. And this stuff's a little more spendy, I will say. It's probably right in that, under $50 range, $45 to $49 a box. So, this one was a little cheaper than that, but a lot of this stuff will run that. But so they got two options. They got a 40 grain tipped hollow point, which has a little black or brown tip on there, right? Looks like a mini 223, right? But it's got that little tip on there, and it's a 40 grain bullet. But then they got this little guy right here, and as you can see on that, let's see if we can get it focused. It says jacketed frangible. Now, that's a pretty cool thing. And the reason why I got a box of each is because these are defensive loads, which means they're probably not as hot, maybe, or maybe they are. It doesn't say on the box what their velocities are. It could be that they're still moving at good velocities, but they've engineered the bullets themselves to open up quickly and dump their energy so that you don't get over penetration, especially with this one. And I don't see a difference in these bullets. Now, if you look at those right there, right, one is a 35 grain. So this one here, the frangible, is 5 grains lighter than the non-frangible. This is a polymer tip hollow point like we've all seen, so it should open up pretty quick and dump its energy. But this frangible will be interesting to see how it dumps its energy. And so when we get out to the range, I really hope to be able to show that. But you can notice here, I think that's cool that they have a frangible option for 5.7 by 28, because if you got a P90 out there or any of the more affordable that have come out lately, 5.7 by 28 handguns. Now keep in mind, you're not going to get quite the speed out of those. You probably get about 20 or 2,000 to 2,100 feet per second, which, isn't much faster than this, but this is coming out of a rifle, the 22 mag to get 1910. When you go, you get another 400 feet per second out of a 16-inch barrel with the 5.7 by 28. So those are options. You'll be at a good speed to hit hard, get through the weave of maybe a normal vest, like a level 3A, and dump its energy without over-penetration. So I'm going to be really curious to see how those perform. Of course, we got our usual box of 5.56, 6, green, that, the M855 ammo. But what I'm really been liking lately, now I can't find it locally, at least in 5.56, but that's okay, because we know we can shoot 223 out of a 5.56 just fine. And I'm really been liking the performance of these 77 grain OTMs. That was one of the downfalls of the AR-15. You have two options, out of a 20-inch barrel, especially smoking, but with a 55 grain The 20-inch barrel originally was made for a 55 grain projectile moving at 3,250 feet per second or faster. And that really can do some damage, especially all the way out to 300 yards, right? That really, it's still got terminal ballistics out to 300. But that light of a bullet's affected by wind, it's drift, affected by plants that you might have to get through. That's why it wasn't a fan of it in Vietnam and stuff, because of the thick foliage, right? It's kind of one of the reasons they sprayed Agent Orange all over my dad and everybody else to kind of clear that foliage away. But the 77 grain OTMs are really performing, and they're very accurate as well. And hopefully I can find some in 5.56. Now you're moving at 2,750 feet per second. So because you're a heavier bullet, you're not getting that 3,200 feet per second or faster, but you're still moving pretty darn good. 1,293 foot-pounds. It's probably at 100 yards, I imagine. Or it might be it's at the muzzle. But that's a really good bullet, and I'm starting to stock up on some of that too, because you want to have certain guns shooting certain ammo, right? And unless you just have one gun, but you should pick an ammo specific that you want to shoot for a purpose. And if you're going to shoot more than one ammo out of a firearm, you should really know how to dope your scope, or tune it in basically to that bullet in a hurry without having to think about it, right? Not that you'd want to change out in the field, but what I'm saying is if you're changing for different applications. So that's a great performing bullet. So they're really starting to, the advancements in 223, they're really starting to stretch all the mileage they can out of the 223 or out of the 5.56 or the AR-15 platform, right? Because it's a great platform. It's nice, small, and light. If I was a new infantryman, I wouldn't want a SIG 6.8 spear with, because they're basically shooting an AR-10 platform, which is bigger and heavier. And if you've watched it on videos, because it's a high pressure case and it's bigger, round, or it's basically a 308 round with a 6.8 bullet in it, and it's a high pressure round, it's got some big recoil, right? So I couldn't see shooting that in full auto very often and being anywhere near on target. But longer range, yeah, it does have that. Of course, I got my usual box of the all copper 165 grain 308. That's what I try to shoot out of my 308s. Is that 160 to 65 grain bullets, right? But this is another one. Now, we don't have one of these, and I hope someday to partner up with Rogue Ops here locally that makes custom ARs and whatnot, and maybe they'll do a project gun with us. And if you guys want to help support that, I certainly would appreciate it. Not that I ask very often, but I do have, and people probably forget, but I do have a PayPal link in my description or the about section, not the description, but the about section, or the description of the video, actually, a lot of times, that you can, donate to if you want to see. It'll always go towards whatever project we're working on, and any extra left over will be given back to whatever I can do with it here locally, charity-wise, but it's not that I get a lot. In this case, it would probably go towards the project. And the reason why is, I think this 6mm arc is what the military should have adopted for their light rifle for the infantry. Now, just imagine this, not just with the brass case, but with that hybrid brass with the stainless steel back so they can put a little higher pressures to it. Could you imagine this little guy right here? Look at that long, sleek bullet, right? Sets a 6mm bullet, so it's a little bit bigger than the 5.56, but it's super long. If you can't see it because you don't have X-ray vision like me, this thing goes into the case quite a bit too. There's not a whole lot of shake to it, if any at all. And it's 103 grain ELDX. And if you haven't seen that bullet before, look at that. That's 1,800 feet per second ballistics gel, and that right there is at 2660, which is probably right close to the muzzle, or just a little bit in front of it. And you can see the weight retention that's kept on that. It's an excellent bullet. Got a huge ballistic coefficient, and it's moving at 2,800 feet per second. And 2,800 feet per second for a 103 grain bullet, that's some good performance. Imagine if they could pump that up with a high pressure case if they would have done that with a high pressure case and got that at least up to 3,000, if not 3,200 feet per second between a 103 grain bullet. I think our soldiers would have much rather have had that. Couple reasons. One, you got more weight for punch, and you've got an excellent ballistic coefficient, so that basically every guy that is shooting it really has some serious accuracy behind them, especially the ones that have DMR rifles. You build this in a DMR and you've got a tack driver well beyond 300 yards. So that being said, I think this is the way we should have went. The reason I got some ammo is I want to have some if I ever do get around to doing a project like that, and we get the nickels and dimes and all the cans saved up to do that. And maybe even get rogue ops to, help out a little bit. That'd be super. And I would sure promote the heck out of our local companies, man. I love promoting local. And we all should be doing that and setting up networks local. So that being said, I'm getting ammo just so that I have it, because this isn't the easiest to find. But the funny thing about it is, it's the one that had the biggest stack almost on the shelf besides 223 and 5.56 right now, because not a lot of people have 6mm arc. But it's a great, great round, right? Could you imagine an all copper bullet in that? Ooh, that would be nasty. Now, here's some of the other changes I'm seeing. I'm starting to see Christina Aguilera. That's what we call this one. Christina Aguilera and her ammo company. Just kidding. But I have no proof of that. But I'm starting to see Seller and Bellet more, and I'm starting to see now Winchester and some other companies coming out with just plain box, what I call plain box, defensive ammo. And it's not just 20 rounds. So you're not paying $20 for 20 rounds or $40 for 20 rounds in some cases. They're making good defensive ammo in 50 round boxes. This is the brand I bought this time. I'll try to get some of the other ones the next time. Everybody's on a budget, including myself. But this is the offering from Christina Aguilera and her 124 grain hollow point. Look at that, jacketed hollow point. That's a nice looking hollow point. I like the ogive on it. I think that'll feed really well. And I like the fact that it's only $20-something a box, and you get 50 rounds rather than 20. And these are all sitting in the area where all the 20-round defensive ammo boxes are. So be sure to take a look for these new boxes, because you're getting a whole lot more for your money. So until next time, just take a look for those. It's a good bullet. It doesn't say on here how fast it's going, but I would imagine it's somewhere around 1,200 feet, or about 1,100 feet per second. And then I got this little guy right here. I thought, I probably should start stocking up on shotgun. That's something I haven't really stocked up on lately, because we have a lot of shotgun for bird hunting already. But, thought, well, maybe I should get something that's for more defensive reasons or hunting reasons, etc. Now, this one's made for rifled barrels, so you need a rifled barrel for it. But it's a 300 grain monoflex inner bullet. So it's basically a big whopping 300 grain pointy bullet that'll open up like that. Look at that. And it's in a sabot, so that's why you need the rifled barrel, so it'll start to spin that sabot in there, and then when it goes out of the end of the barrel, it'll let loose of that bullet, and that bullet will be spinning and headed for the target. And the reason I got it is because it's moving at a whopping 1,950 feet per second. That's pretty quick for a big old heavy bullet. Coming out of a shotgun, I wouldn't like to kiss that one on the lips. You know what I mean? So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this hunt for ammo. Stay out there. It looks like there's still a lot, but be aware there is an ammo shortage or a powder shortage out there by Vista. Vista happens to own most of the ammo manufacturers out there. It's I don't know if you want to call it the mother company, parent company, whatever you call it, but it's the big company that owns a bunch of the companies that make ammo. So that being said, be sure to drop an email to them telling them, please do not sell out of country. If we do, that could be worse than we could ever imagine, right? Right. Imagine being told, oh, sorry, we need it all for ourselves in Czech Republic. Not that I have anything against Czech Republic. I love them to death. But you know what? When times get tough, people got to do what they got to do to protect their own, right? Including ourselves. We shouldn't be letting our ammo go out and be owned and controlled by countries out of our country, right? Because they could even move the whole entire plant, machines and all, if they wanted to, right? I personally think that any company that's owned in our country by a that has a foreign country from a foreign company should have to have a 51% shareholder that is an American citizen, right? Or an American company. I don't think they should be able to solely own it. That way, if we needed to, we could easily nationalize and be able to retain all of our assets, if you know what I mean. So that being said, hope you guys are all having a great Tuesday. And you know what? Be safe, be secure, always be aware of your surroundings, right? And until next time, and be getting prepared and ready for anything that may come our way. And until next time, adios and aloha.